Oh, I love this bike. Don't want to give it back. It's the first bike I've ridden that I don't want to give back. So welcome to another RiderCamTV video, and today we're fortunate enough to be riding the Yamaha XSR 900. Now this bike shares its engine with the Tracer and has 115 brake horsepower, about 87.5 newton meters of torque. It's got a 14 litre tank and it's just shy of 200 kilos, being about 195 kilos, and that's a wet weight. And blimey, does it sound good. And wow, does it go. Now, having been able to ride some of these different bikes for RiderCamTV, I feel quite fortunate that I've been able to sample the riding styles on a whole range of different bikes. And I was thinking to myself earlier that I've got an adventure bike and I love my adventure bike, and I kind of, much like other people I guess, I've got stayed in the opinion that an adventure bike is the only bike that I want to ride, the only bike that I want to get. And through riding a lot of these different bikes, I've been able to actually get the feeling and the reason why lots of people have different sorts of bikes. And I don't think that this XSR 900 is going to disappoint. In fact, it's much the same as the BMW R9T and the CB1100 from Honda that I've taken out. Now these bikes, cafe racer style bikes, obviously I've got a full body of wind as I'm going along. There's nothing to chuck that wind up, but that little tiny screen on the front here, some people might think, oh, that looks a bit funny, but I think it's actually doing the trick and just chucking the air out the way for me, so I'm not getting any buffeting, which is nice and it's quite pleasant. The seating position, as you would imagine on cafe racer style bikes, is pretty much the same as any other cafe racer style bike. It's nice and firm. I don't feel overstretched. I don't feel over cramped. The pegs are in just the right place. I'm not fishing around for the gear lever or the brake lever. They're just there where I need them without even having to think. The wing mirrors and the visibility are really good. The wing mirrors are moulded to a nice shape that go with the shape of the bike, and they do give me a good view behind, although on the right hand side I've not been able to get it into the exact position that I want, but that's just a case of fiddling and making sure that you've done that before you've ridden. I've got a good view, but I'd like it perhaps a little bit more focused on behind me rather than to the side of me as it is at the moment. My shoulders don't feel very far apart, they feel just comfortable, and all of the switch gear and everything is just in the right place. Although, and I know jumping from bike to bike, you're going to have a lot of differences and there's going to be a bedding in period for you to get used to different things. I have gone to hit the indicator a couple of times and hit the horn, because the horn is this tiny little button. But boy, does this bike go. So the switch gear, as we were talking about before I got distracted by having to overtake that slow car, is really good. Very well labelled. You know exactly what it is and you get some good feedback, certainly from the indicator when you're pressing it. The kill switch is a rocker switch, so you rock it towards you when you're in neutral, or you've got the clutch in to start the bike and just release it. And the kill switch, obviously, to turn the bike off or to kill it, you push it away from you. Now the instrument cluster, I think, is actually quite amazing. It's a monochrome digital display, but that monochrome digital display has got everything you should need on it. You've got your gear indicator right at the top center, what mode you're in. You've got your traction control down at the bottom, and your modes at the top. A is dry, B is wet, and there's some other settings in there. I'm not getting vibration through the bike, and it is, as you would imagine with any cafe racer style bike, a little bit harder than a touring bike and that sort of thing, but it's very comfortable. The seat, nice and thin, my legs are hanging over it quite nicely, so I haven't got that problem with the seat banging into the side of your thigh, causing a bit of discomfort on a longish journey. Now, I was talking to an owner of one of these bikes just before I brought it out, and he said that the seat, although it's quite hard, so it's really comfortable, and he would certainly have no problems with riding for 120 miles before having to get off, and certainly only getting off to fill up with fuel, and not because he was uncomfortable with the seat. Now, going down the gears with the gearbox, I've noticed that when you're wanting to block change, you have to lift your foot quite a lot. There's quite a lot of travel with your foot. You have to lift your foot quite far up to get it to engage in that gear before you can then try and select the next gear. On my BMW adventure, it's just a case, obviously, with the quick shifter of just flicking it down. But even if I don't use the quick shifter to just change down gear, there isn't that fuller range of movement, but that's just a characteristic of the bike. In terms of cornering, let's find out. Brakes are very good, very responsive. Just that sound of that sound of the engine just trickling away. It really does go so well. If you could see the size of the smile on my face at the moment, even though we nearly got taken out by that car, the size of my smile at the moment riding this bike, I'm just amazed. I've ridden a few cafe racer style bikes, as you've probably seen on previous videos. If not, check that card, go and check them out. And I loved the CB1100 from Honda, and I loved the R9T from BMW. But you know, for me, I think this has pipped it for me. If I was going to buy one of the three, it'd be a hard choice between the Honda. Honda was exceptionally great, and so is the BMW, to be fair. Both brilliant, got their own great individual points, as well as being much of the same sort of bike. But this, oh wow, I love it. Those 115 horsepowers and all those torques pulling you along, and the power is just there if you need it. It's just immense, and this is one of my favourite roads. If you ever get a chance to come to Cornwall, it's not that long a road, but it's from a place called Winner's Perch, just outside of Wadebridge, through to the old A30, which is called the Goss Moor at Roach or Victoria. If you get a chance to come down and have a look at this road, it's amazing. The corners are great. The only downside is that if you get caught behind a car that's doing next to no speed, there are very few places to overtake them, but it's an amazing road, and certainly a good road to test these bikes out. So this bike's really, really well weighted, and it's nimble around the corners. Not only is it nimble, but I don't get the feeling that it's going to wallow or push you onto the other side of the road, that you've got to concentrate too hard on what the bike's actually doing. All you've got to do is concentrate on where you want to go and being in the right gear and all of that jazz, obviously. But it does fill me with the confidence that the bike's going to do exactly what you want it to do with just ease, and then just say to you, come on then, mate, you think you can ride me hard enough? I'll show you. It's just I would say it's almost like a sports bike in a retro frame. And having ridden the Tracers, certainly the 09, I can see why they've put that engine into this bike. I can see why they've looked at the Tracer and thought, you know what, that's the engine that we can use. Because it just goes. Now, I'm sure somebody at the end of the video will probably say, why'd you just say it just goes, and wow, this is amazing. But you know, sometimes the English language, there's many words out there to describe what you mean, but to be fair, those are the best ones for this bike. Amazing, with a capital A. So, throwing it in and around the corners, really accomplished on the corners, goes where you want it to go. Doesn't give you any feeling that it's not going to do what you want it to do. It is just there, planted, coming, saying to you, come on then, let's go around the next corner, come on, the next one, the next one. I would defy anybody to get onto this bike and not enjoy riding it. And I know that I'm complimentary about a lot of the bikes, but I do talk about some of their down points as well. And a little bit later in the video, we'll stand around and we'll have a bit of a chat about the bike and have a look at the bits on it. But for the minute, for me, I haven't found anything negative about this bike whatsoever, other than just pure unadulterated fun. And I think I picked the windiest day in the calendar to ride around Cornwall, but who cares when you've got a bike like this. But if you're looking for a second bike perhaps, or you're just looking for a bike that you want to take out on the weekends, or any time really with a group of mates, that really instills some quality, and even just looking at it. And I know that owners of any bike, if you've got it outside your house, in your garage, wherever, it's not just about riding the bike. The pleasure of owning the bike is just that, the pleasure of owning the bike. Every time I open my garage door and see my motorbike in there, it makes me smile, it makes me happy. But if I was in the market for a second bike, and certainly a cafe racer bike, I think this is the one that I would get, because every time I open that garage I would see this in it and it would just make me feel special, like it does while I'm riding it. I feel special riding it. It's the 2017 model, it's brand spanking new, it's got everything modern on it, and yet it's got that beautiful, beautiful look of being an old bike and being very retro, and I love it. So turning, let's see how it's so well weighted, this bike. At only 195 kilos, you just can't go wrong with it, but it's just so well weighted. One-handed, doing 4 miles an hour, not even worried about dropping it. It's just pitched just right. And what a special piece of kit this is. 17-inch rim on the front, alloy, great brakes, great styling with the big fender extender on the front wheel. I like the fact that they've got a massive radiator there, but it's also comes with the protection on the front, which is great. The headlight and the indicators are all bulbs, but that doesn't matter on a bike that you're going to take out for a bit of fun. Or on this style of bike, it's just doesn't matter. Tiny little screen, and as I said, as I was riding along, it actually fits the style of the bike, but it chucks the air over my helmet. I have got a lot of air coming onto my body, as you would imagine on a naked bike, but no buffeting whatsoever. As we said, the switch gear really pronounced. It gives you good feedback when you're clicking it, so there's no issues there at all, and really well labelled so you know what you're pressing. Now look at all that 900cc engine just all packed in there neatly, nicely. Yamaha, like any other manufacturer, really good at what they do. Look at that seam, it's really good. The styling of the bike I like, and I love this little can, and it sounds beautiful as you're going along, absolutely beautiful, but it's nice and out the way. It goes with the style of the bike, but you've also got all this magic gadgets and electronics inside for the damping and the modes and ABS and all of that sort of stuff is all on the bike, which is great. They've also put quite a quite a long fender extender or mud catcher or mud sling, whatever you want to call it, on the back. But this sort of bike, if I had one, I wouldn't be taking it out in the rain and the horrible weather, because I want to keep it immaculate all the time. All of the pegs right in the right place, not fishing around looking for the brake pedal at all. It's just there, just where you need it, and these are very comfortable on my feet, very comfortable. No vibrations at all through the handlebars or through the pegs at all. Just a really nice, smooth, progressive powerhouse of an engine, not giving any discomfort at all to the rider. Now the seat, even though it's a one-piece seat, it's almost like a suede type leather on the back, and it's quite pliable but very comfortable, and because it's quite narrow, your legs drop down rather than getting hit, or rather than your legs coming over and having to go over a lip and having a bit of discomfort. But look at this special little light on the back, and from the back, look at that, an LED brake light, bulbs in the indicators, but I love the shape of that. It adds and just looks and just goes so well with the rest of the bike. The colours on this bike, black and silver, and if you look really carefully, I'm not sure whether you'll be able to see, that black, it's like a metallic-y black, it's got little specks in there. And the view for the rider, and obviously you never forget that you're on an XSR because it's right there, reminding that you are on it. I love the little touches on the front, like the brushed aluminium effect of this bracket that's holding the instrument cluster on there. And if I start the ignition, if I can get in there because I put my camera in the wrong place, you've got everything in front of you, and as we said earlier on, it's a monochrome instrument cluster, which I find really good. I find that it fits with this very well, and you can change your modes. The mode from B is wet, A is you've got standard and then dry. You've got different modes, different traction control modes. You've got all of your dials around here, and you've got all of your indicator lights and all of your warning indications up there. Now, one thing I did notice very early on, first couple of miles, having to indicate and cancel the indicators, the horn is very close to the indicators, and normally the horn is below, but it's above the indicators here. So having indicated, you really got to, certainly until you get used to it, concentrate on where the indicator switch is, because I did hit the horn a couple of times and there was a couple of startled motorists wondering what on earth I was doing, which was quite funny. The wing mirrors, really good shape. They've even thought of where you're sitting, because they've put these stems here, and obviously they take the wing mirrors a little bit further out so you're not looking at your shoulders. Although I am seeing a little bit of my arm, they perform as they should do, really nicely. Now it's really odd thinking about the bikes that I've taken out in the past and will do in the future. There seems to always be something that I don't quite like about the bike. But on this one, perhaps I haven't ridden it long enough, but for what it is and what I would use the bike for, I haven't found anything that I dislike about it whatsoever. At all, which is so surprising for me, because you can normally pick something that isn't quite right for you. But to be fair, on this bike, I would be enormously happy if I was to be able to buy one of these, even as a main bike, but certainly as a second bike. How special would you feel? An absolutely amazing all-round cafe racer style bike within a beautiful, beautiful engine with power to boot. Who wouldn't want one? I'm just so excited about it, and I never thought that would happen. A big surprise for me, big surprise. So if you've liked the video, give us a massive thumbs up. It really does help us a ton, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that you see our videos when we release them. Anyway, we'll see you in the next one. Ride safe, everyone.